Some of the estimates are 1 million Jews and others by gassing. And in Treblinka 1, it was a forced labor camp. They worked in the pits, the irrigation pits to get water. They worked in the forest. They cut stones. Some of that was to supply building material for the Reich. But the purpose of the wood was to provide for the crematoria in which they burned the bodies of these people who were gassed. Yet Ukrainians come to this country and they have more rights than black people when they get off the boat. And then they want to tell somebody about what it means to be anything. And they have not had anything in the way of a problem whatsoever. And that's what infuriates me. And you all sit there upset now because of my words. What kind of people are you? But here's something else. You know what I do? I don't do like Senator Kentner, jump up and run out of here. I read your rule book. If you're going to play the game, boy, you got to learn to play it right. You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. I learned your rules, and I use them better than you because I have the heart, the nerve, and the will to use them and stand on this floor and fight against all of you if necessary. You will stand up if you got a whole lot of company behind you. I don't need that. That's not what I was sent down here for. I was sent down here because people saw in my community I'd stand against the police, the abusive school teachers, gouging landlords, store owners who sold old, rotted produce for excessive amounts, and run those white Johns who came into my community looking for what they call a clean colored girl.
1 minute.
Yeah, and if I got near enough to the car and he rolled his window down, he didn't come back again. That's the kind of person on those white Johns who came, and it's why I can deal with anybody and anything on this floor. You all have had an easy life all of your life. What do you call hard? Yeah, and if I got near enough to the car, the Ricketts talked about leaning a chair against an oven door because the oven door came open. Some people didn't have an oven. They didn't have a chair. So even when they talk about how hard it was for them, there are many, many people who say, I would trade your hardest day for my best day any day in the week. But those are the ones who make the decisions here. And I brought this bill time after time after time. And if Senator Moorfield gets tired and I'm still in the legislature, I will bring it. I will bring it. And as long as there are people out there being treated unjustly, I'll be somebody to try to end it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Chambers. Senator Bloomfield, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I've sat quietly all day on this bill. I had intended to do so. Senator Moorfield made a statement that he thought Senator Chris was upset that he brought it back. I didn't detect that. But the reason I first turned my light on was to thank Senator Moorfield for saying he would bring this bill back and back and back. I understand that philosophy. And I respect that philosophy. It took Senator Chambers 40 years. Well, I probably won't support the bill. I highly support his ability to bring it back and back and back. I was told earlier this session by a senior member that it was kind of unseemly that I would bring the helmet bill back again. Well, I didn't see it that way, so it was back. I think it'll be back next year. I certainly hope it's back next year and the year after, or until it is enacted. But Senator Panzenbrook's statement that they didn't try to stop me on that bill. The bracket motion was dropped a half hour in, for Pete's sake. When it failed, we went 6 hours to a cloture vote. But we didn't try to stop it. We didn't try to end debate. Colleagues, that's a ridiculous statement. So, thank you, Senator Moorfield, for bringing this back. I hope you do it again next year. I won't be here, and that's probably a good thing. But we'll see where this debate goes. Senator Tansenbrook mentioned her son. I have a grandson that's openly gay, and another grandson from a different family is transgender, or working on being transgender at this point. That's a big share of the reason I've sat here and been quiet. But everybody's got a dog in this hunt. But let's not make different rules for different folks, and let's not say we didn't try to kill a bill earlier when we clearly did. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Bloomfield. Senator Brosh, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, colleagues. Once again, I'm going to circle back here, and on the introducer's statement of intent, it talks about, it writes, LD 586 relates to employment and prohibits discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. The conversation, the debate, I believe has been there for the most part, except it has broadened itself. It has grown wings and gone to discrimination and on bad deeds that the Ukrainians and other nationalities perhaps may have done in the history of humanity. I think the Ukrainians and others have done some very good things as well. But thank you, Senator Chambers, for reminding us that people can do bad things. Perhaps even transgender people may, or whoever else. We are all capable of extreme good and extreme bad. And this bill has been about employment and discrimination there. It has been whether the need, if it's needed here, if it's a problem here in Nebraska, if it is growing, again, the chamber, the Omaha, they have lawyers on staff and people who can diligently go in, if it's needed, anyone can, should there be cause for discrimination of any sort in a workplace. One thing that Senator Moorfield mentioned earlier, that when he brings it back, or if that when he does, he's going to talk about public accommodations and expanding that in housing. It's already in this bill, and it's on page 2, line 9, and I'm not going to read to you on the floor, but I passed out a handout that was written by a foster parent, very, very concerned about public accommodations and how it could affect her foster child who was a victim of sexual abuse and has psychological and fears, and that housing, public accommodations, being able to not have privacy if you go into a YWCA or YMCA, privacy of your gender and your beliefs. And for religious exemption, there is more to the freedom of conscience argument than simply hiring or firing a member of the LGBTQ community. A religious exemption might protect a religious institution for religious activities and for hiring religious positions, but it doesn't cover individuals, businesses, and nonprofit LGBTQ community. On page 2, line 9 of the bill, accommodations is included, and the statutory definition of accommodation is from Nebraska Revenue Statute, or Revised Statute 20-1, page 2, line 9 of the bill. and I quote, "All places of business